At dawn, the crew heads into the Gulf of Mexico in search of the colossal giant grouper.
Specialized bottom rigs are ready to withstand the power of a massive giant grouper.
A compact drone descends to scout the reefs where giant groupers patrol the depths.
Only the strongest lines can stand up to the crushing pull of a giant grouper. Sonar highlights submerged ledges, prime ambush points for giant groupers.
Dark, moving silhouettes hint that enormous giant groupers lurk below.
Divers prepare to descend into the territory of the Gulf's heavyweight giant grouper.
The descent begins along the towering reef walls, where giant grouper patrol.
The drone guides the diver deeper into shadowed corridors that hide giant grouper. A colossal giant grouper materializes from the darkness, dwarfing everything nearby. Its enormous jaws and spotted armor mark it unmistakably as a giant grouper.
The diver maintains distance. This giant grouper is powerful enough to crush equipment.
The giant grouper displays its cavernous mouth, capable of inhaling prey in a single gulp.
The giant grouper's broad dorsal fin and muscular frame move gracefully despite its size.
The diver confirms the modeled pattern and proportions of a mature giant grouper. A second giant grouper emerges, proof of a thriving population beneath the waves.
Its dense, mottled scales help the giant grouper withstand life around rough reefs.
The giant grouper settles between boulders, camouflaged against the seafloor. Laser measurements document the towering head profile of the giant grouper. In a sudden vacuum strike, the giant grouper devours its prey instantly.
Its slow, deliberate circles conceal the explosive force of a giant grouper.
A reinforced bottom rig is placed along the path where giant groupers roam. The bait sinks into the strike zone of the giant grouper below. The giant grouper glides in slowly, sizing up the easy meal. In a flash, the bait disappears inside the giant grouper's enormous mouth. The rod bows deep as the giant grouper unleashes its raw strength. The giant grouper makes a powerful dive back toward the safety of the reef.
The crew braces together as the giant grouper's pull tests every knot.
Deep below, the giant grouper thrashes violently in an effort to break free.
Slowly, the exhausted giant grouper is forced upward toward the light.
The surface erupts as the giant grouper finally bursts into view.
A Hevel tail rope is fixed around the giant grouper to keep it under control. The crane hook descends to hoist the giant grouper aboard.
Slowly, the crane lifts the giant grouper, its spotted body shining in the sun.
Suspended above the deck, the giant grouper dwarfs everything around it. The padded deck cushions the giant grouper as the crew secures their catch.
Up close, the giant grouper's eye and intricate pattern reveal a lifetime on the reef.
Another massive giant grouper on the sonar prompts the team to ready a second rig.
A second giant grouper patrols the ledge, equal in size and power.
The second giant grouper turns toward the descending bait. With a brutal snap, the second giant grouper inhales the bait.
The rod arcs again as another giant grouper dives for the bottom. The second giant grouper lashes its tail, fighting the relentless drag of the line.
The crew hauls steadily, inching the second giant grouper toward the surface.
Foam and bubbles explode as the second giant grouper comes up.
The crane strains once more under the weight of another giant grouper.
Side by side, the two giant groupers reveal just how huge this species can grow.
The wide gill plates and heavy jaw show the brute power of the giant grouper.
Length and girth readings confirm that both giant groupers exceed normal size.
The scale groans under the immense mass of the first giant grouper. The second reading proves the other giant grouper is equally colossal. The crew carefully moves the first giant grouper toward the processing area. A blade slices through the thick skin to reveal firm, giant grouper meat beneath. Experienced hands fillet the massive giant grouper with practiced precision.
The thick collar cut from the giant grouper is one of its most prized portions.
Trays fill quickly with premium giant grouper fillets destined for market. The giant grouper fillets are sealed and stored careful in the cold room.
A chef examines the firm, dense texture of the giant grouper fillet. On heat, the giant grouper fillet develops a rich, golden crust.
The plated giant grouper dish showcases the buttery, delicate meat earned through a hard day at sea. Heavy straps wrap around the giant grouper's huge frame as the crew stabilizes their enormous catch.
The giant grouper flares its massive gill plates, revealing the immense power of this colossal reef predator.
Up close, the giant grouper's mottled armor shows decades of survival on the reefs. A second giant grouper is lowered beside the first, doubling the crew's extraordinary haul.
Side by side, the pair of giant groupers show the true scale of these Gulf legends.
With the giants secured, divers gather their equipment after the demanding underwater mission.
From above, their massive heads and thick bodies reveal just how immense these fish truly are.
Scale samples help researchers trace the age and growth patterns of the giant grouper. The grouper's layered hide reveals natural armor, evolved for life among sharp reef edges. The tape confirms an extraordinary girth and length, far above average for the species. The crew readies the deck for processing the massive giants.
The first giant grouper is laid out for the opening cut across its thick, rounded belly. A long blade cuts through the thick hide, exposing pristine white flesh inside the giant grouper.
Inside, its powerful rib frame and dense muscles reveal the strength of a lifetime in the deep. A massive slab of giant grouper meat is lifted free, heavy, and flawless. The second giant grouper is positioned for cutting, its mottled patterns shining in the sun.
The rib section of the second giant reveals massive bone strength and dense muscle.
Trays quickly fill with the rich, firm fillets of the giant grouper. The prized collar cuts are separated, packed with tender, marbled meat.
Each massive steak shows tightly packed meat, perfect for grilling.
The giant grouper's enormous head is lifted for cheek and throat cuts. The cheeks are removed, treasured for their soft, buttery texture. The throat cut reveals dense, highly prized meat from the giant grouper.
The giant grouper's enormous bones are set aside for stock and study.
Cold trays fill quickly with premium giant grouper cuts, bound for market. A mountain of giant grouper meat stretches across the deck, proof of an exceptional haul.
The crew scrubs the deck after hours of relentless processing.
Cold storage rooms quickly fill with neatly arranged grouper fillets. Crates packed with giant groupers are sealed and prepared for transport.
A chef inspects the delivery of giant grouper fillets, fresh from the Gulf.
The chef trims away edges to reveal perfectly firm grouper meat. Thin sashimi slices highlight the clean, bright texture of the giant grouper.
Thick grouper steaks sizzle on the grill, caramelizing into golden perfection. Herb butter melts across the grouper steaks, releasing a rich aroma.
The giant grouper collar roasts slowly, forming a beautiful golden crust.
A bright garnish enhances the rich, buttery flavor of the grouper fillet.
A delicate spiral of grouper sashimi showcases the fish's elegant grain.
Diners experience the giant grouper in a stunning variety of preparations.
A gentle press of the fork reveals the tenderness of giant grouper meat.
The fish's mild, buttery taste surprises even seasoned seafood lovers.
Using the giant grouper's bones, the chef crafts a deep, flavorful broth. The broth captures the essence of the massive fish in every spoonful.
A lineup of giant grouper dishes becomes the highlight of the evening menu.
The roasted collar earns immediate praise for its rich flavor and texture.
A fresh sashimi course highlights the grouper's clean, delicate texture.
Guests toast to the extraordinary catch and the feast it inspired.
The final dish reflects the craftsmanship behind every cut of the giant grouper.
Outside, the restaurant proudly announces its giant grouper offerings. Crates packed with giant grouper depart for premium markets. The gear out to haul the giants is scrubbed down after a punishing day at sea. Cold storage still holds a wealth of giant grouper cuts awaiting delivery. The crew reflects on their historic double capture, a rare feat in these waters. The The captain records hotspots where the giants were found to guide future voyages.
Sunset paints the Gulf as the vessel heads home after an unforgettable day.
The exhausted crew finally settles down after hours of intense labor. The giant grouper's ribs and spines are cleaned and set aside for broth.
The chef simmers the final stock, drawing every last bit of flavor from the bones.
Guests savor the deep, comforting broth born from the giant grouper's massive frame.
A montage showcases the many dishes created from the extraordinary catch. The vessel returns to harbor, closing a journey defined by two colossal giant groupers.